Castleton Ambulance 14 on frequency 340. How do you read? Confused, go ahead.
My name is Joyce. 1 year ago, I was on welfare. I needed a job. I knew I was a good driver. I could spot trouble before it happened. A friend of mine told me about a volunteer program with the local emergency squad. They were looking for volunteer drivers, so I thought about helping out. They took me on as a volunteer, and I loved every minute of it. Next thing I knew, I started thinking about getting a job as a driver. I got my friend Gail to take care of my kids. I told her I would pay her as soon as I got my first check. I think the best way to find a job is to ask your friends. Now I drive an ambulance, and I get paid for driving. Sometimes I do a little volunteer driving on the side to help out the community rescue squad.
The toy department is a good place to work. It doesn't pay much, but it's more than I get from welfare. A year ago, I was really stuck. I had 2 children, wasn't married, didn't finish school, and it looked like I was going to spend the rest of my life on welfare. I didn't want to work because I didn't think it was worth the effort. But it is. And do you know why it's worth the effort? The answer is, I made new friends, I have more money, and I feel like a worthwhile person.
Wanda, I'm finished in housewares, at least for now. Could I give you a hand?
No, that's okay. I'm almost done, but let's have lunch.
You're on. I'll meet you at 12:30 in the lunchroom.
She's something else. But we help each other out. My friend Dorothy watches both our kids on Mondays through Thursdays, and Jan's sister watches the kids on Fridays and Saturdays. Do you know I found my job by looking through a phone book? I didn't have a phone, so I borrowed Jan's phone book. She didn't have a job and was pretty much in the same boat as me. First, we looked in the yellow pages under the heading department store. Then we wrote down the numbers and the addresses of each store, and we decided to go to each store and apply in person. We dressed up. Jan borrowed my earrings. Oh, and don't apply for the same job together. First, I went in and applied. When I was finished, Jan went in. I was told to fill out an application form. You should always bring a pen and be prepared to write down a phone number where you can be reached. I wrote down Jan's number. I waited 1 week, and then I started calling up the department stores where I'd applied for a job. Don't be discouraged if you get turned down. Remember, you're a worthwhile person. You can find work. Sure, it's hard, but believe me, it pays off.
I found my job through my friend Mary. She told me about an opening at the bus company. There are many things you can do when you look for a job. Check the newspaper Help Wanted section, go to your high school guidance office, and visit the public library. Many libraries offer assistance in looking for employment. Check the yellow pages in the telephone book and make a list of the companies that interest you, and then visit each company in person. Go to the employment office and ask for a counselor to help you write a job profile. I knew someone who found a job by asking his minister one Sunday morning. Asking friends is the best way to find a job. Don't be afraid to use the buddy system. Find a friend who needs a job and team up with her. Together you can offer each other encouragement and advice.
If you're looking for a job, you need a job profile. Now, some people call it a resume or a qualifications brief. Me, I call it a job profile. But no matter what you call it, the important thing to remember is if you're looking for a job, you're going to need something on paper to give to an employer. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can write your job profile. You can go to the library and get a book on how to write it. Or you can go to the employment office and they can give you a hand in writing it. Here's how I wrote mine. First, I put my name at the center of the top of the page in capital letters. Then I skipped a few spaces and I put my address and my phone number. It's always important to skip a few spaces between each heading on your job profile. After my phone number, I skipped a few spaces and I wrote the words interested in. Under interested in, I put a job as a painter or a painter's helper. I also mentioned that I'd like to work for a company looking for a hard-working employee. Now, the next and very important heading to put down is experience and work history. I put down the name of a few people whose houses I painted and how I learned to work fast and get the job done. Under the next heading, education, I put how I went to Woodrow Wilson High School and completed the 11th grade. I had to leave because I had to make money to support myself. Oh, also, don't forget to mention your best subjects in school. Mine was woodworking. The last thing I put on my job profile was the word personal, under which I put my birthday, September 27th, 1949, my height, 5'10", and my present weight. I also put down that I was healthy and not afraid of heavy work. Ask someone to make a few copies of your job profile. You'll probably need more than one. Now, sometimes when you're looking for work, you'll be asked to fill out a job application. This is pretty similar to a job profile. Don't forget to bring a pen. Now, on the application, you'll be asked to put down your name, your address, and your phone. If you don't have a phone, give the number of a friend or a relative where you can be contacted. Oh, and if they ask for the name of someone to contact, give the name of a friend who's already working who will help you. And don't be afraid to give the name of someone that will say something good about you. You'll also be asked to put down the name of where you previously worked and the name of your boss. I always put down the name of a boss that liked me. Most importantly, read the instructions slowly and carefully. Write neatly and answer every question.
I'm Helen Caldecott. I'm Director of Personnel for a large company that hires many different kinds of people for different jobs. My job is to interview these people who we might hire. I ask them a lot of questions and then I decide who I want to hire for my company. The job interview is very important. Everyone who is looking for a job has to go on a job interview. Let me give you a few inside tips. First, don't just be on time. Come 15 minutes early and bring a pen and your job profile. Second, dress up. Look good. This interview is important. Third, try not to be too nervous. I'm going to ask you some questions, but relax. Fourth, be confident. And fifth, and finally, after the interview is over, ask me for the job. I'm looking for people who are energetic, cheerful, friendly, and who are interested in their future employment. I'm also looking for people who will pay attention and ask questions and learn fast. Good morning, Mrs. Francis.
Good morning.
Won't you sit down and make yourself comfortable?
Thank you.
I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Yes.
First, why are you applying for a job here?
I'm applying for a job here because I'm a good worker and I learned fast. And I heard that this company is the kind of organization that appreciates and rewards good work.
Where did you go to high school, and did you graduate?
I went to PS 45, but I didn't finish. I'm thinking of getting my GED diploma. I just haven't started yet.
Well, why do you feel that you're qualified to work here?
I asked my friends some questions, and they said that among the many things your organization provides is a home health aid service. I know how to maintain a household, and I know how to care for old and sickly people. I used to take care of my aunt when she was sick and couldn't care for herself. I like the work, and I want to learn more.
Are you working now?
No, not at the present moment. I'm taking care of 3 children.
Well, how do you plan to provide child care so you can work?
My sister is going to care for my children during the day. I'm going to pay her every week.
Where else have you worked?
When I left school, I worked at Woolworths as a cashier. It was a good job. I had a nice boss.
Well, who was your supervisor?
John Jansen, that's it, Mr. Jansen.
Would it be all right if I contacted Mr. Jansen?
Oh, yes, it is. He's at the department store on Delaware Avenue.
All right. Mrs. Francis, I don't have any other questions. Do you have anything you'd like to ask me?
I'd like to ask you if you would hire me. I really want a job with this company.
The best I can do is to call you when I have an answer. I will say that I am impressed, and I'd like to thank you for your interest.
Oh, thank you for giving me the opportunity to discuss my qualifications.
Goodbye, and
Bye-bye.
thank you for your interest.
Thank you.
Mr. Hayes, why do you want to work for our company?
Well, I need a job, and I heard your company was a good one to work for. And I am a very hard-working person.
Well, as you probably know, this is a very large organization, and we have many different kinds of activities. What did you have in mind?
Well, I know that you have a home health care service, and I do enjoy working with people in a one-on-one situation. And I'm sure your company would benefit from my enthusiasm.
Well, where have you worked?
Well, I haven't worked for a while. A few years ago, I worked with Tobin Sanitation Service. I was a janitor and did general maintenance work.
Well, we do have an opening in general maintenance. Your duties are largely custodial. Would you be interested?
Yes, I am. But if I were to be offered the janitor's job, would I be able to transfer to something else later on?
Well, it's always possible, but that would depend on how you performed your assigned duties, plus a good recommendation from your supervisor.
Sounds like I could handle that. Yes, I'm definitely interested.
That's good. I'll call you in a few days.
Thank you, and it was very nice meeting you.
You're welcome. Those were good interviews. They showed me they were willing to work and were sincerely interested in a job. Send a handwritten note in a day or two after the interview. It should go something like this. Dear Mrs. Smith, thank you very much for the time you spent in considering me for the position of home health aide. I would very much like to become a part of your company. Thank you again for your warm reception. Sincerely, Mrs. Bessie Francis. Unfortunately, part of the job hunting process is being turned down a lot before you're hired for a job. My advice to you is to go on a lot of job interviews. Don't be afraid to practice job interview techniques with a friend. And remember, it will be difficult, but don't give up.
5549. 15549 King Henry in front of 67 South Ferry Street. Good afternoon, sir. May I see your license and registration, please? You're driving a little too fast this afternoon. I'm going to let you go this time with a warning. I like my job. Did you know in a number of cities, all you need is a GED diploma and you can take the exam for police officer? I didn't finish high school, but later I heard about the GED program and I studied for the exam. After I passed the exam, I got a job as a police officer. Yes, it can be risky, but it's a good job.
I've been working on this job for a couple of years, and I've got some advice. After you've been hired, show your new boss that he made the right decision when he hired you. You can do that by always trying to do your best. The first day on the job is always the hardest. Everything is new. New people, new ways of doing things, all kinds of unfamiliar equipment. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You're not expected to know everything on your new job first day in. So take advice, follow the rules, be on time, leave your personal problems at home, get along with everyone else, and you'll hold down that job.
You should take advantage of a skill you already have. Team up with a friend when you look for a job and use the buddy system. Go to the employment office and ask for a job counselor. Don't forget to write a job profile and practice interviewing techniques with a friend. Take the GED exam. When you find that job, follow instructions, get along with others, and make your job a pleasant experience.